It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap.
Comedy is dead. Completely dead. Jerry Seinfeld is right. Not only is it dead, it's been murdered, and we know who killed it. Jerry Seinfeld would love to make comedy funny again, or at the very least, he would love to get political activists and actors out of the business of comedy, out of the business of telling you what's funny and what isn't, out of the business of telling you what you're allowed to say when you tell a joke. Jerry Seinfeld is a purist in this regard. He appeared on the New Yorker magazine podcast Radio Hour. And when the interviewer said, what's wrong with comedy today? He didn't hesitate to pinpoint exactly the problem.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. Mm-hmm. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates, like in the skiing. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
Yeah. All right. By the way, that was the New Yorker Radio Hour, but it's also sponsored by, ironically, WNYC Studios in New York. WNYC is NPR. So I doubt this even made it onto the air because it's NPR after all. Let's say that. But he didn't hesitate. This is all a result of the extreme of the left and PC. What were the exact words there? Hang on. I want to hear it again.
Expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap.
The extreme left and PC crap. Couldn't have said it better myself. Although, sadly, these days, there's no difference between the extreme left and the not so extreme left. The left is the left. They're all extreme. Do you see anybody on the left who is saying, no, I'm fine with that. I don't want to cancel anybody. No, maybe Bill Maher. But he's more of a libertarian. Bill Maher's main goal in life is to get stoned, make a lot of money, and bang Playboy bunnies. That's literally what he's been doing for the last 30 years of his life, and he doesn't want anything to upset that apple cart, whether it's your religion or your laws. Just stay out of my way. Let me do what I want to do. So that's Jerry Seinfeld's assessment as to where we are in comedy. And he said a lot there that needs to be sort of analyzed because he's so right about where we are as a country, as a culture. He's right. There used to be things that we could all rally around. Like, I remember when I was a kid, you would come in when I was a little kid. It was like, did you watch Happy Days yesterday? Or did you watch Welcome Back, Kotter? Well, of course, all of your friends did. They all did because that's what we watched. It's what was on, right? Friends. Did you all watch Friends last night? Did you watch Seinfeld last night or Cheers or MASH or everything? Now, some people will say, well, that was back when we only had 3 or 4 television networks and everything's changed now. That's not it. That's not it at all, actually. Sitcoms are gone now for a couple of reasons. The first is, frankly, the writer's strikes over the last several decades had so diminished creativity and writers' ability to be writers on television that they were all placed with reality shows, and reality shows were cheaper. You didn't have to pay the writers the union wages, and you ended up making just as much, if not more money. So bing, bang, boom, we'll end up doing reality shows. Beautiful thing about reality shows, you only pay like 1, 2, 3 stars. Friends, all 6 of them were making $1 million an episode, right? It's like, I don't want to deal with actors anymore. I don't say I blame them. But that's the reality. Budget-wise, the writer's strike and the actors sort of wrote themselves out of existence with their contract negotiations. That's number one. Number two, back to Jerry Seinfeld's point, not only is there this PC orientation where you have to send your jokes to, executive staff to sort of approve what you're saying. The networks will oversee your scripts and they'll make politically correct adjustments to your script. Oh, you can't say that. Say it this way. It's like, if you're a comedian, you're in the business of creativity and writing, who wants to deal with that? Nobody. But also our friend David Marcus, who's a political commentator and columnist who, like me, comes from the world of entertainment. He made a really important observation on the X platform, which is specific to sitcoms. The reason sitcoms are funny is because it takes something that we in theater talk about it all the time, and it goes all the way back to the Greek tragedies, really, where characters all represent archetypes. If you look at the Greek plays, if you look at Shakespeare, if you look at the European comedies and dramas from the 19th century and American dramas in the 20th century and comedies and into television, you'll see a pattern. In each of these works of art, you'll see characters representing archetypes, personality types. I mentioned Friends. Friends is the perfect example. Every single one of those 6 people, from Ross to Joey to Chandler to Monica to Rachel, you know someone in your life that is kind of like one of those people. It's an archetype. You could also call it a stereotype, where individuals fit into a certain category. Oh, that person's like that. This is one of those people that act like this. The left, political correctness, they don't let you do that. You're not allowed to do that. How dare you make those assumptions about who I am and what kind of person I am? If you make those assumptions, you're a racist or a bigot or a sexist or a homophobe or an Islamophobe, or throw in whatever phobe or ist you want to throw in there. When you make those assumptions about someone, you're bad, you're wrong, you have to be canceled. So if we can't make those assumptions and put people into an archetype category, we can't make jokes. The best jokes in the world that communicate about the human condition make certain assumptions about human behavior. And you're not allowed to make certain assumptions about human behavior. So if you can't do that, you can't be funny. And sitcoms live in that reality. That's what sitcoms are. It's a template of archetypes interacting with each other. Whether it's innovative like The Office or traditional like I Love Lucy, it's all the same pattern, and you're not allowed to do it anymore. The intellectuals have taken over. They're too smart for comedy. And Jerry Seinfeld is 100% right. And this stand-up comedian is a great example of what you're not allowed to say anymore. This is a guy who supported Biden, and he's put out this 1-minute little TikTok part of his stand-up, and he will probably be canceled by comedy clubs. He's going to have to play the underground circuit, which is, conservative comedy clubs.
I voted for Joe Biden. I campaigned for Joe Biden. I gave money to Joe Biden. It's been a little rough. I gotta be honest with you. This whole presidency, it feels like that moment when you realize your dad can't fight, like he's doing this with his hands and shit. Like it's less of a presidency and more of a study of elder abuse. This was like 2 years ago when he fell off a bike. Everybody was just like, ha, 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 he fell off a bike. I was like, what the f*** is he doing on a bike? Who put him on the f***ing bike? North Korea? When you're 79, your goal shouldn't be peace in Israel, okay? It should be getting to the pharmacy without help from the church. That's it. Joe Biden is what would happen if JFK got shot, survived, and did a speech immediately afterwards.
That's actually very funny. But you're not allowed to be funny. You're not allowed to tell jokes like that. See, that guy should have been the MC for the White House Correspondents' Dinner this Saturday. Oh, but he wasn't. No, he would have been funny because if you remember, the conceit of the White House Correspondents' Dinner is to make fun of the president. It's like the court jester thing, right? It's the laugh at the king. You're our president. You're the most powerful person in the Western Hemisphere, but you have to sit there and take these jokes where we make fun of you. That's what the conceit of the White House Correspondents' Dinner is, and it's healthy, actually, for us to remember that there's a reason why we don't have a king. And a recent development, it started with the Obama administration. Suddenly, if it's a Democrat, if it's one of the good guys, you're not allowed to make fun of him. I mean, it is recent. You'll remember in the 90s, Don Imus, a acerbic conservative, well, he wasn't really conservative, but an acerbic talk radio host who had the morning show in New York. He's passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. He was the host of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he did a scathing stand-up about Bill and Hillary and the Whitewater scandals and everything. And people were outraged and couldn't stand how Bill was so upset and Hillary was so upset, and there's nothing funny about this. And that was the end. When George W. Bush was up there at a time of war, they made fun of him. And he took it in good stride, and he chuckled, and they moved on. But with Barack Obama, see, there's nothing funny about Barack Obama. So with the White House Correspondents' Dinner, when Barack Obama was president, they decided that the butt of the jokes would be all of Barack Obama's opponents. If they did make a joke about Barack Obama, it was along the lines of, boy, don't you just hate Barack Obama? He's so perfect. That was about it. And then when Trump became president, well, they didn't even do the White House Correspondents' Dinner because there's nothing funny at this time. Now Joe Biden is back there. As you just saw from that stand-up comedian, there is a treasure trove of comedy about Joe Biden. For God's sake, we do about an hour of it here every day. Joe Biden is nothing but a punchline waiting to be told. Colin Jost, who is on Weekend Update and is married to Scarlett Johansson, which is really his claim to fame. He was the White House Correspondents' Dinner comedian, and he did a couple of jokes about Biden, but not really. All in quite good nature and sort of, oh, sweet old grandpa kind of stuff. Most of his vitriolic, hateful jokes were about Trump and conservative politicians. The one good joke he said, by the way, which I won't show to you right now, but it was written by his colleague on Weekend Update, Michael Che, who is black. He said at the beginning of his stand-up, he said, my colleague Michael Che was going to be here, but he decided, just like Joe Biden's dwindling support in the black community, he would stay home. That's funny. And as the audience reacted to that joke, Colin Jost immediately said, Michael Che wrote that joke for me. And now I can see, I shouldn't have said it. Seriously. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. So the one good joke that he had that was critical of Joe Biden, he admitted he didn't even write. And at the end of doing the stand-up, where he made this much fun of Joe Biden, but the rest of it was about Donald Trump and about Republicans like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, at the end of it, he delivered this laugh riot stand-up joke. Listen to this. This is the greatest. What a joke this is. Making fun of Joe Biden, right?
And with my family in mind, I wanted to share one last thing with you before I go, and I wanted to share one thing with you, Mr. President, before I go. I lost my grandfather this year, as you alluded to, a firefighter, William Kelly. He's the reason that our son's middle name is William. He helped raise me growing up, and I would not be here today without him. My grandpa was a firefighter on Staten Island for 40 years. To make extra money for his family, he was a substitute teacher, and he painted houses. And since it's Staten Island, I should point out it's not like the Scorsese Irishman painting houses. He was not a mafia hitman. He actually painted houses. The FBI is here. I don't want to start a whole thing. My grandfather was another rare Irishman who didn't drink because he lost his father and his brother to alcoholism. And I swear, Mr. President, this is not an age comparison. You remind me of him. Some of your best qualities remind me of his. And I will say he was 95 and he was still great at stairs. I think it's because he didn't try to run up them. But the reason that I bring up my grandfather, and I don't know if you realize, Mr. President, but Staten Island firefighters are not normally your demographic. Staten Island voted about 70% for Trump in the last election, and the other 30% was for Giuliani. But Staten Island also sided with the British during the Revolutionary War. So we're not always on the right side of history. You remember. But my grandfather, a Staten Island firefighter, voted for you, Mr. President. He voted for you in the last election that he ever voted in. I mean, I'm sure someone else will vote twice in this election using his name, but that's just how the democratic machine works. He voted for you, and the reason that he voted for you is because you're a decent man. My grandpa voted for decency, and decency is why we're all here tonight. Decency is how we're able to be here tonight.
Yeah, that's a laugh riot. That's some major, wow. That's some biting, cutting-edge humor, isn't it? Comedy is dead. Absolutely dead. This is the man whose job it was is to tell jokes about Joe Biden and humble him once a year, where the president gets to have to sort of be the butt of everyone's jokes. My grandfather, before he died, voted for you because you're a decent man, and decency is what's important. And decency is on the ticket. And decency. How about competence? How about the economy? How about, by the way, I'm not even going to concede decency, but put a pin on decency for a second. Because I'd love to have decency in the White House, okay? I really would. But I'd also like to have a dollar actually be worth 100 pennies again, right? I'd like inflation to go away. I'd like there not to be a war in the Middle East threatening our number one ally and threatening, frankly, World War III. I would like to have oil production in this country again so that we're not funding Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas and Vladimir Putin and Russia. And so we can be energy independent. I'd like to have a southern border again that is secure so that we don't have millions of people a year flooding in from God knows where, completely unvetted, and then draining our systems, not to mention murdering innocent people on our streets. I'd love to have safety on our streets again, where bad guys are actually arrested and then tried, convicted, and locked up in jail. I'd love to have that again, wouldn't you? And frankly, I'm putting all of those things ahead of decency, because if an indecent person can deliver all of that, I'll take it compared to what we have right now. But Joe Biden is a decent man. Joe Biden is a decent man. Ask Robert Bork how decent Joe Biden is. Ask Clarence Thomas how decent Joe Biden is. Ask Mitt Romney how decent Joe Biden is. When Joe Biden called Mitt Romney racist, told a black audience in 2012 that Mitt Romney was going to put them all back in chains. Joe Biden is not a decent man. You know how in the Bible they say, from their fruits you will know them? Well, look at Joe Biden's fruit. Look at his son, Hunter. Oh, he's father of the year, that Joe Biden. You don't think what happened to Hunter Biden and where he is right now is not a direct reflection of Joe Biden and his decency? For the last 3.5 years, at every turn, Joe Biden has taken the stage to tell me that I am the problem in this country, that I'm not just wrong, that you're not just wrong about politics, but you are evil and you're dangerous and you're a threat to our Constitution. You are a MAGA fascist extremist. And how does he define MAGA fascist extremist? Well, if you're one of the 80 million people who support Donald Trump. He has demonized his political opponents, not just the politician, but the actual voters, at every possible opportunity. He is not a decent man. And not only is he not a decent man, but all that other stuff I just listed that we actually elect a president for, he's a complete and total failure. But yeah, Colin Jost, really funny stuff. Great stand-up comedian. He really nailed Biden there. That performance he gave at the White House Correspondents' Dinner under the guise of roasting Joe Biden, he could deliver that exact same speech at the Democratic National Convention nominating Joe Biden. That's how bad it was. Yeah, comedy is dead. Completely dead. Jerry Seinfeld is right. Not only is it dead, it's been murdered, and we know who killed it.